Hey, hey, you know what time it is. Woo! Get into it! Get into it! Yes! We're back! We're back with Storytime with Chris. Ooh, vocals. No, I'm just kidding. As many of my friends in the musical theater community, they were like, you could have held your breath a bit better. Hi, y'all. It's story time with Chris. I am perfectly happy today because I just got up from my nap after the gym. And then I'm making chili tonight, so I'm going to run to the store later. But, hi! As always, as I like to say, you do not have to watch these videos when they go live. You're more than welcome to watch them in your downtime, nap time, max or relaxing, chillax, and break time. Whenever you want to hear a highly animated voice bring you wonderful stories of magic, fantasy, science fiction, adventure, and many, many more in between. But I did want to show you something that we'll be reading Sunday. So all I'm going to say is what I'm about to show you. The real 90s kids, we know this character. She's iconic and she's awesome. I'm pretty sure maybe some late 80s kids would know who this is. But anyway. Does anybody remember Madeline? She's up there with like the Peanuts gang, Corduroy. I would say Amelia Bedelia, Junie B. Jones, Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys. Madeline is awesome. Babar is great. What else? Paddington is another story we should read on here. And Rupert, the panda. Definitely got to read that. But Madeline, I remember, and my mom is watching. Well, she was watching, but hi, Mom. So Madeline was an animated series that I watched growing up. And then they made a live action movie adaptation. And I remember going to see that movie, and it actually was pretty amazing. Like, it was spot on of the show and of the children's books. But I have read Madeline's Christmas a few years ago, and that should be on, I'm pretty sure that's on the YouTube channel. If not, I'll have to double check. But anyway, I wanted to read the first book and read you some wonderful tales of Madeline. Ludwig I'm sorry, I'm tongue-tied. Ludwig Bemelmans. There we go. Couldn't get my words out. I was talking too fast. Such is my life. Such is the life. But yes, I remember reading these stories as a kid or having them read to me as a child. So yes, Madeline is a wonderful example for the children. And we're going to be reading her, but we didn't come to talk about Madeline today. We are back with the castle of Llyr, where we found out that this old shoemaker is actually Prince Gwydion in disguise. And he's just informed Taran and Gurgi and Fflewddur that he isn't here as a shoemaker. He's undercover because Princess Eilonwy, is in danger. We're going to find out what's going on behind the scenes. Because it seems like he knows a lot more than he's telling, especially considering that he had to be in disguise, which I forgot that about Prince Gwydion. Let's go ahead and get started. And no, I don't own the music in the background, which is brought to you by Mr. Ambiance yet again, bringing us some great ambient music for our storytelling. I got my hot tea. It's a little too hot right now for me to drink, but you know how we do. It's all right. Chapter 3. The Shoemaker. Taran paled, his head still whirled at seeing the Prince of Dawn in the guise of a shoemaker, and Gwydion's words left him all the more confused. Our lives are in danger? He asked hurriedly. Does Arorn of Anuvan seek us as far as Dinas Ridnat? Gwydion motioned for Gurgi to stand guard at the portal and turned once more to Taran. No, he said Gwydion with a quick shake of his head. Though Arorn's wrath has grown to fury since the Black Cauldron was destroyed, the threat comes not from Anuvan. Taran frowned. Who then? There is none in Dinesretnat who wishes us ill. You cannot mean that King Rudlum or Queen Teleria. The house of Rudlum has always borne friendship to the sons of Dawn, and to our high King Math, replied Gwydion. Look elsewhere, Taran of Caer Dallben. But who would harm Eilonwy? Taran asked urgently. It is known she is under Dallben's protection. There is one who would dare stand against Dallben. One against whom my own powers may not suffice, and whom I fear as much as Arorn himself. Gwydion's face was taut, and his green eyes flickered with deep anger as he spoke one harsh word. Othran. Taran's heart chilled. No, he whispered. No. That evil enchantress is dead. So I too believed, Gwydion answered. It is not true. Othran lives. She's not rebuilt Spiral Castle, Taran cried, his thoughts flashing to the dungeon where Othran had held him prisoner. Spiral Castle still lies in ruins as you left it, Gwydion said, and grass already covers it. Oeth Enoeth, which Othran would have given me to death, no longer stands. Actually, I did a really good pronunciation of that Welsh name. Yeah, I'm learning. You must know that I have long pondered her fate, Gwydion went on. Of Othran there has not been the slightest sign, as though the earth had swallowed her. This troubled me and lay heavily on my heart, and I have never given up seeking traces of her. At last I found these traces, said Gwydion. They were faint as whispered in the wind, puzzling rumors that seemed at first no more than imaginings, a senseless riddle without an answer. Perhaps, Gwydion continued, I should say an answer without a riddle. And it was only after long toil and hard journeying that I discovered part of that riddle. Alas, only a part. Gwydion's voice lowered. As he spoke, his hands did not cease carving and shaping the unfinished sandal. What I have learned is this. After Spiral Castle fell, Othran vanished. At first I believed she had sought refuge in the realm of Anuvan, for she had long lived as a consort of Arorn. Indeed, it was Othran who gave Arorn his power in the days when she herself ruled Prydain. Powerful lady. But she did not go to Anuvan, since she had let the sword Dyrnwyn slip from her hands and failed to take my life. It may be that she feared Arorn's wrath. Perhaps she dared not face him, having been outwitted by a young girl, an assistant pig-keeper. Of this I am not certain. Nevertheless, she fled Prydain. Since then, no man knows what has befallen her, yet even to know she is alive is cause enough for fear. Do you think she is on Mona? Taran asked. Does she seek vengeance upon us? But Eilonwy was no more than a child when she escaped from Othran. She understood nothing of what she did. Wittingly or not, by taking Dyrnwyn from Spiral Castle, Eilonwy gave Othran her most grievous defeat, Gwydion said. Othran does not forget or forgive. He knit his eyebrows. It is my fear that she seeks Eilonwy, not only for revenge. I sense there is something other than that. It is hidden from me now, yet I must discover it without delay. More than Eilonwy's life may hang in the balance. If only Dallben had let her stay with us, Taran said in dismay. He too must have known Othran was alive. Did he not realize Eilonwy would be in danger the moment she was beyond his protection? Dallben's ways are deep, said Gwydion, and not always given to me to fathom. He knows much, but he foresees more than he chooses to tell. Gwydion, putting down his awl, drew out a leather thong and began stitching it through the sandal. Because back in the day, they didn't have factory machines make shoes. If you were a cobbler, you made them by hand, nails, leather, string, everything. You did it by hand. Definitely take the time to look up what a cobbler is, and there are still people who are cobblers who make designer boots and shoes and heels and tennis shoes even. There's a whole market for it. It's a wonderful profession because people always need shoes. Just saying. Dalbin sent me word that Princess Eilonwe would voyage to Mona and counsel me to turn my attention here. He told me, too, of certain other matters, but it is better not to speak of them now. I cannot sit idle while Eilonwe might be in peril, Taran insisted. Is there no way I can serve you? You shall serve me best by keeping silent, Gwydion answered. Stay watchful. Say nothing of me or of what we have spoken, not to the Princess Eilonwe, not even to Fluda. He smiled. Our eager bard saw me in the stables and luckily did not know me. Meantime, I shall... Before the Prince of Dawn could finish, Gurgi began waving his arms in warning. Footsteps rang in the corridor, and Gwydion bent quickly to the task of fitting the sandals. Hello, hello, cried Prince Run, striding into the chamber. Ah, shoemaker, there you are. Have you done with your work? I say, they are handsome, aren't they? He said, glancing at the sandals. Amazingly well made. I should like a pair myself. Oh, my mother asks to see you in the great hall, he added, turning to Taran. Gwydion's face had fallen suddenly into lines and wrinkles. His shoulders were hunched and his voice shook with age. Without a further glance at Taran, Gwydion beckoned to Rune. Come with me, young prince, he said. You shall have sandals befitting your station. As Caw fluttered after him, Taran hurried from the chamber and down the corridor. Gwydion, Gurgi, round-eyed with fright, trotted beside him. Oh, fearsome danger, Gurgi moaned. Gurgi is sorry great enchanter sends us to place of peril. Gurgi wants to hide his poor tender head under kindly straw at Caer Dalbin. Taran warned him to silence. Eilonwe is surely in more danger than we are, he whispered, hastening toward the great hall. I don't like the thought of Ockran turning up again any more than you do, but Gwydion is here to protect Eilonwe, and so are we. Yes, yes, cried Gurgi. Brave, loyal Gurgi will guard Golden Hair Princess too. Oh, yes, and she will be safe with him, but, he snuffled, he still longs to be in Caer Dalbin. Take heart, my friend, Taran said. He smiled and put a hand on Gurgi's trembling shoulder. We companions shall see no ill befall any of us. But remember, not a word that Gwydion is here. He has his own plans and we must do nothing to betray them. Gurgi will be silent? Gurgi cried, clapping his hands to his mouth. Oh, yes! But mind, he added, shaking a finger at Caw, that gossipy black bird does not tell with talkings and squawkings. Silence! Caw, bobbing his head. Secrets! In the high-ceilinged great hall, with its flagstones that seemed to cover a space as large as the orchard at Caer Dalbin, Taran caught sight of Eilonwe amid a group of court ladies. Some of Eilonwe's age were listening delightedly to the princess. The rest, all of whom looked much like Queen Llyr, were frowning or whispering behind their hands. Mag, standing near the queen's throne, watched impassively. And there we stood, Eilonwe was saying, her eyes flashing. Back to back, sword in hand, the huntsmen of Anuvan burst from the forest. They were upon us in a moment. The young girls of the court gasped with excitement, while some of the older women gave horrified cluckings that reminded Taran of nothing so much as Cole's chicken run. Taran saw that Eilonwe wore a new cloak. Her hair had been combed and dressed in a different fashion. Among the ladies she shone like a bird of golden plumage, and with a curious twinge of heart, Taran realized that had it not been for her chattering, he might not have known her. Good Llyr! Cried Queen Llyr, who leapt from her throne as Eilonwe continued the tale of battle. I'm beginning to think you haven't had a... My dear child, don't be so gleeful when you talk about hacking at people with swords. Safe moment of your life. She blinked, shook her head, and fanned herself with a handkerchief. Give you an example. Oh, what a relief that Dalbin has finally decided to be sensible and send you to us. Oh, if nothing else, you'll be out of harm's way. Oh. That's what I'm imagining the queen sounds like. Bear with me. Taran caught his breath and took all his strength to force him not to shout Gwydion's warning aloud. Ah, there you are, Queen Llyr called, spying Taran. I had thought to speak to you about... That's right, young man. Step up briskly, bow a little more deeply if you can, and good Llyr, don't scowl so. The royal feast tonight. You shall be pleased to know that in honor of all of you, we're planning to invite a perfectly wonderful bard who claims to be a bard, that is, and who claims, by the way, to know you. The self-styled bard, said Mag, with ill-concealed distaste at the mention of Flooter, has already been commanded to present himself at the feast. Therefore, in the matter of new garments, Tellyria went on, you had better go with Mag immediately and find some. That has been seen to as well, Lady Tellyria, murmured the chief steward, handing Tarn a neatly folded cloak and jacket. Wonderful, Tellyria cried. All that remains to be done is, well, I do believe everything has been done. I suggest then, Tarn of Caerdalban, that you go and make yourself, don't frown so, you'll look old before your time, ready. Tarn hardly had finished bowing to Queen Tellyria when Eilonwy seized him and Gurgi by the arms and hastily drew them away.
You've seen Flooter, of course, she whispered. Now it's getting to be more like old times. What a blessing to have him here. I've never met such silly women. Why, I don't think there's one of them that's ever drawn a sword. All they want to talk about is sewing and embroidery and weaving and how to run a castle. The ones who have husbands are always complaining about them, and the ones who haven't always complaining about the lack of them. They've never been out of Dinas Rinat in their lives. I tell them a thing or two about some of our adventures. Not the best ones. I'm saving those for later, when you can be there to tell your part in them. What we'll do, Eilonwy hurried on, her eyes sparkling, after the feast, when no one's watching, we'll get hold of Flooter and go exploring for a few days. They'll never miss us. There's so many people coming and going around here. There's bound to be a few adventures on Mona, but we certainly won't find them in this stupid castle. Now, first thing, you must look out a sword for me. I'd wish I'd brought one from Caerdalban. Not that I think we'll need swords, but it's better to have them, just in case. Gurgi, of course, shall bring along his wallet of food.
Eilonwy, Tarn interrupted. This cannot be.
How's that?
asked Eilonwy.
Oh, very well. You needn't bother with swords, then. We'll just go adventuring as we are.
She hesitated.
What's the matter with you? I must say you have the strangest expressions on your face from time to time. Right now you look as if a mountain were about to fall on your head. As I was saying...
Eilonwy, Tarn said firmly, you are not to leave Dinas Ritnat. Eilonwy, so surprised, she stopped talking for a moment, stared at him open-mouthed.
What? She cried. What did you say? Not leave the castle? Tarn of Caerdalban, I think salt air must have pickled your wits.
Listen to me, Tarn said gravely, searching his mind for some means to warn the startled girl without revealing Gwydion's secret. Dinas Ritnat is unfamiliar to us. We know nothing of Mona. There may be dangers that we...
Dangers? cried Eilonwy. You can be sure of that. And the biggest is that I'll be bored to tears. Don't think for an instant I mean to wear out my days in this castle. You of all people tell me I'm not to go adventuring? What really is the matter with you? I'm ready to believe that you've dropped your courage over the side of Rune's ship along with the anchor stone.
It's not a question of courage, Tarn began. It is the better part of wisdom to...
Now you're talking about wisdom. Before, that was the last thing in the world you thought about.
This is different, Tarn said. Can you not understand? He pleaded, though he saw clearly from Eilonwy's face that his words made no sense to her. For an instant, he was tempted to blurt out the truth. Instead, he took the girl by the shoulders. You are not to set foot out of this place, he ordered angrily, and if I think you have any idea of doing so, I shall ask King Rutlam to set a guard over you.
What?
cried Eilonwy.
How dare you?
Tears suddenly filled her eyes.
Yes, I do understand. You're glad I've been sent to this wretched island in those clucking hens. You couldn't wait for a chance to get rid of me. You actually want me to stay here and be lost in a dreadful castle? That's worse than putting someone's head in a sack of feathers.
Sobbing, Eilonwy stamped her foot.
Tarn of Caerdalban, I'm not speaking to you anymore.
And that is where we will end for tonight. He tried to tell her. She's gonna kick herself when she realizes she was being protected by him. But the mystery unfolds in another chapter. I love you all so very much. I'll see you next time.